So, Jai Hind all of you. Once again, I am in front of you. I am Manish Kumar, Assistant Professor in Department of Computer Science and Engineering, AKGEC Engineering College. So, today I am going to discuss about the topics of the data structures. So, I have decided to give a presentation, record a lecture on different types of data structures, introduction to data structures. Today I am going to brief about the summary of different types of data structures, what are data structures, types of data structures, how we are categorize those data structures into different types. So, we all know that the data structure comprises of two words, data and structure. So, what is data? In computer science, data plays a very important role. Data is a raw data. As you all have studied a journal structure of a computer, in that what we have seen that we input the data, raw data is inputted and that inputted to the input unit, right? And from that input unit, the data goes to memory, then memory to CPU, and CPU comprises of arithmetic logic unit and control unit, and then in between processing takes place and output is displayed with the help of output unit, right? I think you all remember this structure. This structure you remember, input unit, here is input unit, right? It goes to memory unit, which we further divide into two types, right? Then data goes in and out from CPU, which is further divided into two types that I have told you, that is ALU and control unit, and then output unit, right? So, what happened? We just give a input here. Input means we are going to input the data, and that data is raw data, hai na? So, what happens? Now, we have to learn here how to keep this data in a computer memory, right? So, here we deal with data and we need to keep that data so that different types of operations can be performed on that data. So, we need a structure to keep that data in computer memory, right? So, this is comprises of two words, data structure. So, how we can define this data structure? So, we can define data structure as mathematical and logical alignment. Mathematical and logical. We used to keep that data. Data structure is defined as mathematical and logical representation of our data. Okay? Mathematically means we need to calculate the addresses, we need to calculate the values, hai na? And logical means where we want to keep the data in computer memory, right? So, what is the requirement of data structure? Actually, we need to perform several operations. So, what are the different types of operations that we perform? Like, we need to insert data, that is called insertion, right? We need to delete the data, that is deletion. ठीक है ना? Third, several times we need to update the data, updation. ठीक है ना? We need to merge the data, merging, insertion, deletion, updation, merging. We need to add something information, that one operation is called as concatenation. So, there are a number of operations that we need to be performed. Okay? So, when these operations are need to be performed, what we need to keep our data in such a way, in such an efficient manner, so that we can access the data, right? I have said a word efficient. So, we need to keep in mind this efficiency. Okay? So there are several parameters that we will study in this data structure. So how we are going to insert the elements, how we are going to keep the elements, ठीक है ना. So first priority is how to keep the data. So for that we need to study different types of data structures. Okay. So I think you all are clear with what is data structure. Data structure is defined as a mathematical and logical representation of that information. ठीक है ना. Mathematical and logical representation of information, of the information, or we can say that data. How to keep the, we are going to keep the data. So what is the requirement? Requirement is that we need to perform several operations here: insertion, deletion, updation, merging, concatenation. Several number of operations are there. Okay? So to perform those operations, we need an appropriate way to keep the data. So we need to study data structure. Okay. So now next comes the types of data structure. Types of data structure. Right. So before going to discuss about type of data structure, all are clear with what is data structure. So I can elaborate with the help of an example. For example, if you want to keep the information, a bigger information into the memory, so you need a database, right? You need a database. If for example, if I told you students ki make a student table, and that student table will contain, for example, I told you to make a student table. So what will happen when I will say table? So a structure is come into your mind, है ना? And that student table will consist of number of rows and columns. What are the name? Number one, serial number, that automatically comes in your mind, है ना? Then name of a student name if we are making the student table. Then father's name, right? Then for example, student studying in which semester, year, like, right? So that information automatically comes in your mind. So you have thought ki it is a better way to keep that detail in the form of a table, right? Right? There is one important column. For example, roll number. For example, there is a column roll number. Then what will happen? This roll number will be a unique. So what you will have to do? You have to implement some constraint on this roll number ki not more than one student having the same roll number. So this, with the help of this roll number, which is uniquely identified, so you have to implement some constraint na? So you have find out the way to keep that uniqueness. So you, for that uniqueness, you have pointed out this column roll number, right? So in the same manner, when number of operations are to be performed, we need a different way. We have to see ki what programmer have to think ki what type of data structure he want to take. Okay. So in the same manner. So now just I am elaborating what are different types of data structure, right? So basically data structure can be divided into basically two types: linear and non-linear. Linear and non-linear. Linear data structure and non-linear data structure. It is divided into two types, right? Some of the text also differentiate another parameter of types of data structure, that is primitive and non-primitive. Also, there is another classification that is called as primitive and non-primitive data structure. ठीक है ना? I think you all have studied in your first year the C language, na? So in C you have studied about the main types of data structures, main types of data types, that is integer data type you have studied, है ना? So that all comes under primitive data types. Int, char, float, double, ठीक है ना? Void is also a data type, ठीक है? That is primitive data type. And under non-primitive, we can further divide into two types. that is linear and non-linear, right? And linear again can be divided into two types. How we can divide it? Two types basically, static and dynamic. What is static? Static means fix. Dynamic means change. Dynamically we can change. ठीक है ना? Under this static comes the array. Right? Comes the arrays data structure. Array, there is a process how we there is also a process how we can dynamically allocate the memory in the form of array, but basically it is categorized under static. Okay. Then comes the linked list. ठीक है, number 2. Number 3, stack. Right. Number 4, queues. Okay, students. If not required, need not to differentiate this static and dynamic. You can directly classify this linear data structure into these 4 types: arrays, linked list, stack, and queues. ठीक है ना? For clarification, more clarification, I have just divided into static and dynamic. Right? If it is not necessary to further differentiate this into linear, into static and dynamic, you just keep right what? Array, linked list, stack, and queue. ठीक है? And under this non-linear data structure, number 1 and number 2. First classification is tree. Sorry. ठीक है? Tree, and second is graph. ठीक है? Tree data structure and graph data structure. These are the non-linear types of data structure. ठीक है? So further in our subject we will deeply study all these, but today just I am going to briefly discuss you about these types of data structure. Okay? So students, again I am repeating it. कि what is data structure? Data structure is simply a mathematical and logical representation of our information. ठीक है? In the computer memory. ठीक है? Then what is the need of data structure? We need to perform several operations, several insertion and deletion. We need to perform several operations number of times, and we want that after those several operations our data structure will remain stable. है ना? It can be kept efficiently. Those information can be kept efficiently. So we need to align those elements, those information in computer memory. ठीक है? Properly. So for that we need different types of data structures. ठीक है? Data structure is basically, there are 2 classifications that is defined in different text. ठीक है ना? Primitive, non-primitive. If you are differentiating on the basis of this primitive and non-primitive, this is very important from the exam point of view. Types of data structure या classification of data structure. So primitive types of data types, data structures you have already studied. Non-primitive is further classified into linear and non-linear. ठीक है? So linear is, there are 4 types of data structures: array, linked list, stack, queue. Non-linear, tree data structure and graph data structure. Okay? If you want, this can be further classified also linear, static, and dynamic also. ठीक है? Depending on the memory allocation. Right? So first of all, I fastly brief you about these types of data structure, give you introduction. ठीक है? Array. So what is an array? So what is the requirement? So I just elaborate you with the help of an example. For example, I just want to keep the record of 50 students of a class, है ना? And a teacher told you to keep marks of these 50 students. ठीक है ना? Marks. For example, there are 4 or 5 subjects are there. ठीक है ना? English, maths, professional communication, C, okay. For example, electrical. These are the 5 subjects, for example. ठीक है? Then what is the challenge? First of all, if you are making a C program, then what you will do? You need to initialize, you need to declare the variables. Okay. Then what you will do? You used to declare 50 variables, and each student is studying 5 subjects. So you will declare 50 variable, and each student is having 5 subjects. You need to record those marks of those 5 subjects. Then how many variables you need? 5 5 is 25. You need 250 variables. It is very tedious task. Okay. So you just you will spend lot of time in just declaring and initializing those variables. है ना? That is not feasible. That is not feasible. That is not practical. So there is an alternative, a good alternative, that what we will do, we just declare a array of 50. Yes, array of 50 students. I just define an array like that. For example, I need to keep the name of student, char, type of char, variable. The name of the variable is student, and in these square bracket I will write 50. So what is 50 here? This will represent a size here. So you can easily declare a variable with a single name student. Okay, you need not to now take 50 variables. You just declare a variable of array type. Like this, we can declare the variable of array type. Okay. So basically, array is divided into 2 types. 1D, that we called single dimensional, and multidimensional array. Okay, 1D and multidimensional. Multidimensional consists of 2D, 3D, 4D and so on. ठीक है ना? In some of the books, it is written that we can define number 1D, one dimensional array, 2-dimensional array, then multidimensional. But basically, there are 2 categorization of the array, 1D and multidimensional. And multidimensional consists of 2D, 3D, 4D. Right? So, how we used to declare the variable? You just need to define a data type. Okay? Then variable name. Okay? Then you will declare the size. So this is how I will just declare one dimensional array. Okay? You will just put the size here. This is 1D array. Okay? For example, I have taken int, a variable name is a and 5. So what does it mean? Whenever I am going to declare this variable, then in computer memory 5 spaces were reserved. ठीक है ना? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 like this. And what is the name of the variable? A. ठीक है? Another important thing that we have to keep in mind, that whenever we are going to declare an array, so the elements of that array are accessed with the help of index position. Always keep in mind index position. So this is the 0th index position. First element is at 0th index position. Second element is at first index position. For example, I have keep it here 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. It means that a of 0 will have 11 like this. Okay? A of 1, 12 like this and so on. Okay? A of 4, that is 5th element, is at position 4th position. We can say it is at 4th position, 4th index position. So this is how. So now we can give the definition of this array. If array is a way to store the elements, how we are storing the elements? In contiguous memory location. A word called as contiguous memory location. Contiguous memory location. Okay, contiguous means not continuous, contiguous. For example, if the data type is integer, what is the type? Integer. and we know that integer will keep 2 bytes, है ना. So for example, the starting address of this array is 100. ठीक है. Then what will be the next position of the element? 102. So this will take 2 bytes as the data type is integer. Again this will take 2 bytes. 104, 106, 108. So what is the total size taken by this array variable? There are 5 elements. The size of the integer is 2. 5 2 is a 10 bytes. So this array will reserve how many bytes? 10 bytes. Okay, students? This will take 10 bytes. ठीक. So for example, in place of integer, I have taken a char type of array. For example, char C and 5. Now what happened? What is the memory allocation here? Memory allocation will be like this: 0 index position first, second index position, third, fourth index position, like this. है ना? 5 elements you will keep. For example, I have put here A, B, C, D, E. For example, है ना? Now what is the size of this data type character? 1 byte. So it means if the starting position is 100, next will take 101, 102, 103, 104. It means total bytes will be allocated. How many bytes? 5 bytes will be allocated here. ठीक है? In case of integer, 5 to is 10 bytes. So we can't say na that the memory is allocated continuous, not continuous, according to the type. If float is there, then each element will take 4 bytes of size. Okay, so we use a word contiguous here for defining this. Okay, so how the array can be defined? Array can be defined as contiguous memory allocation, to keep the elements in contiguous memory allocation. What type of elements? All elements are of integer type here. All elements are of character type here, right? It means similar type of elements. If we want to keep similar type of elements together, then what type of data structure we will take? We will take array data structure. Okay, this is clear. So this is how we will define 1D. Now what happened for 2D? 2-dimensional. For 1D we have taken this 1 square bracket. For 2D we will take 2 square bracket, like this. Int A, like this. ठीक है ना? In 1D we have taken this 5. What is this 5? 5 will size, linear data structure, linearly. Each element is linearly aligned. So it is comes under category linear data structure. Okay. Now this 2D we have taken the 2 square brackets. Both will represent the size. First bracket will give the row size and second bracket will give the column size. Just you have studied matrices in mathematics na. So similarly this 2D array will represent that matrix representation. So keeping that representation, we will, for example, I just give you an example here. Int A 3 3. Okay. So I have defined here a 2-dimensional array. Declare a 2-dimensional array. So the size of that row is row size. This will represent the row size. This will represent the column size. Okay. Then how elements will be allocated in memory? Like this: A 00, A 01, A 02. Keep in mind the matrix representation: A 10, A 11, A 12, A 20, A 21, A 22. This is how this 2D matrix will be allocated. But how this will be allocated in computer memory? This is a linear data structure. So this is only the matter of representation. This is the imagination, so that we can perform different operations easily. Okay? But in computer memory, all these elements will take contiguous memory location, like this: A00, A01, A02, A10, A11, A12, A20, A21, A22. And so on. Okay? This is my This is my first row. This is my second row, first row, or we can tell it zeroth row, right? Because we know that whenever we are going to declare an array, the starting position is zeroth index position. ठीक है ना? First row, this is my second row, this is my third row. This is how elements are allocated in computer memory. Okay, students. So this is 2D. And what happens in 3D? In 3D, this is the example of 2D. In 3D, what will happen? Int A 2, for example, 3 brackets are there. Okay. So what is the alignment of this? For example, you can for an understood purpose, you can understood like this ki, for example, we are going to declare two 2D array of size 3 by 3. Okay. So that I will discuss in my coming lectures, how this alignment is done, how the address calculation is done on 1D, 2D and 3D. I think you understood this. Okay. Now, next is second linear type of data structure is, first we have discussed about arrays. Okay. Now, the second is linked list. Linked list. Okay. So, linked list is defined like this. Linked list, it is a list. Now, first the question arises, sir, what is the need of linked list if we have already arrays? Yes. For example, I just explain you with the help of an example. For example, this is a memory. For example, this is my memory. Okay, na? That memory is, you know that memory is divided into tracks and sectors, right? Memory is divided into tracks and sectors. And in our memory, I just fill up some space here. मतलब कि this dark line will tell us कि this space is filled up. For example, this is filled up. And white blank will represent the memories. ठीक है ना? So, for example, I just want to keep some elements. For example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I want to keep 15 elements. Okay. Now the element. Now you if I consider array, so for example, my array will take this memory location, है ना? And for example, in my array, I want to keep 5 elements. But there is only 2 spaces allocated here. Right? There is only 2 space available. Now, although I know that these all are the free space already available in memory, but if I have decided to take array data structure and I want to keep 5 elements in that array, it is unable for me to initialize the memory, because array will take contiguous memory location, it will store only 2 elements, but I want to keep 5 elements. So, it is typical for me. So, to come out from this drawback, we will use to declare a linked list. We need to keep a data structure, linked list data structure. And what happened in this linked list data structure? For example, first element is kept here, which is connected with the second element, third element will be kept here, fourth element will be kept here, fifth element will be kept here. Matlab, it is connected with the help of link. This is the need of data structure. So, linked list is defined as a node which consists of 2 parts. First part is information part and second part is pointer part, PTR. So, for example, if I show you with the help of an example, for 5 elements, I need to declare 5 nodes here. This is called as linked list. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 elements are kept. Address part will indicate to second node. Second node, address of second node will point to the third node, third to fourth, fourth to fifth. And this is my last node. Here it will keep the null pointer. So, this is a linked list with 5 nodes. Okay. In my coming lecture, I will explain you briefly in deeply about this linked list. Okay. Third is stack. Stack is a data structure which is having only one end like this. One end means you can insert element from this end, and if you want to delete from here only you can delete. ठीक है, मतलब stack and queue are two types of data structure which will use to perform operation at any end. Queue is defined like this. For example, from the first end deletion will take place, from the second end insertion will take place. मतलब when the ends are involved na, two types of data structures are there. Okay, stack and queue. Then non-linear. Under non-linear comes the trees. Number 5, tree, non-linear. Here we will make a hierarchy, simple hierarchy. Tree hierarchy means a parent node is a child, parent node is having a child like this. ठीक है ना? And graphs, you have studied about certain circuits in electronic engineering also, electrical engineering also, that will represent the graph. That is also some this will follow some hierarchy, but no hierarchy is there. Like this. No linearity is there. Okay, so these are non-linear data structure. Okay, students. So I think this is all about today introduction to data structure. In my coming lecture, I will explain all these in deep. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you all of you. Thanks for today.